Welcome back to the Friendly, now in the second round of Swiss action. Today's video features LowKey versus Artemis, VirtualAdept versus Flarolyn, and Grif versus Dutch. Starting out with a Dragon Ghost squad facing a Psychic Ice team. Both of these competitors were successful in their first round endeavors, where Artemis had the closest victory of any in the first round and LowKey won handily 6-2. It will be interesting to see how these teams match up. Ghost has a solid matchup into Psychic, and Ice has a solid matchup into Dragon, so with each side fielding one advantageous matchup, we will see how the other types play out and how well their coverage moves can handle the other team's offerings. I think Latias has a strong impact to play, as do all of the legendaries on Artemis's team, but Zygarde wasn't even showcased in the first outing for LowKey, so we'll see just how powerful that can be when it comes out. LowKey's team once again will struggle with Ice. All of its membership except for Basque Legion is weak to Ice, so that may be the deciding factor in this matchup, and in fact I am going to predict that Artemis wins based on that interaction. Let's see how it goes. Starting out with that Basque Legion into Jirachi, won't be good if Basque Legion goes down early. Phantom Force. Artemis swaps out into Weavile, who will resist the Ghost move. Basque Legion saved for a later time. Zygarde comes in on a knockoff and loses its Life Orb and almost 90% of its health. Thousand Arrows will hit Jirachi very hard, bringing it down similarly. Swap now to Cresselia, takes a critical hit for almost half its health. That is a bulky Cresselia. Basque Legion comes in as Moonlight heals up the Cresselia, and Artemis swaps back to Jirachi. Phantom Force again, this time Artemis maintaining Jirachi in, eats the Phantom Force super effective, and goes down. Weavile back in, punches out the Basque Legion. That's the last of LowKey's ice-resistant Mons. We will see if that comes into play. Machagacha not doing a whole lot there. Draco Meteor brings Sinistcha down to 5%. Shadow Ball super effective, but only down to half on Latias. Latias roosting instead of finishing off the Sinistcha, and the Sinistcha is going to heal up in response. A Draco Meteor, now reduced damage, only brings it to 5% again, and Sinistcha healing, getting the better of that interaction. Artemis chooses to swap back to Cresselia, and Sinistcha heals to full. Calm Mind now going to make Cresselia even bulkier, while Machagacha going to heal up Sinistcha a bit more. Some more setup for Cresselia, some more healing for Sinistcha. Eventually LowKey decides better of the matchup, switches into Goodra, takes a super effective Moonblast, but Goodra very bulky. This time a critical hit Moonblast brings it down to the red. Moonblast only neutral against Dragalge thanks to its poison side. Moonlight gonna heal up Cresselia, and Dragalge throwing out some Toxic Spikes could be useful. Moonblast here gonna reduce Dragalge's special attack, and a critical hit Sludge Bomb gonna bring Cresselia under half. It does still carry that Moonlight though, so you never know when that might have an impact. Swapping now to Delmise, that's going to take a Moonblast fairly effectively. It'll be able to eat 3 of those before it dies and can synthesis up in the meantime. Shadow Claw going to finish off the Cresselia, so that's a bulky Mon off the field. Latias has Levitate, so it won't be affected by those poison spikes. Zygarde gonna swap into a Psyshock and just die there, so we didn't really get much out of it. Draco Meteor once again brings the Sinistcha to the red. Will Latias heal again, or will it finally finish off the Sinistcha? This time it chooses the Psyshock, taking down Sinistcha. Delmise in. A missed Draco Meteor will give it the opportunity to swing with a Shadow Claw, bringing down the Latias. Toxic Poison now onto that Weavile, but here come the Ice Shards. Brings down one. Another Ice Shard would, chooses to go for the Triple Axle, which has a miss chance, but also very effective. Super effective, one might say. Dragalge goes Poison, won't be as badly damaged by the ice, but not enough bulk there to stay alive, as Artemis takes the win 6-3, finishing things off with a badly poisoned Weavile. Moving on now to Flarolyn versus VirtualAdept. VirtualAdept had a strong showing against Liquid Courage in his first match, 6-2. Flarolyn a little bit closer of a match, 6-4 against Raptor. I would say that we've got a pretty strong matchup here for Flarolyn, as Fairy is on both sides, and Fire resists Fairy moves from VirtualAdept and is super effective into Ice. You couldn't ask for much more of a matchup on Flarolyn's side, but who knows, the buffet table may still have an opportunity to win here. Don't count anyone out in this tournament, but I am definitely going to predict that Flarolyn takes this win. Slurpuff starting off into Tinkaton. Flarolyn going to swap, as is VirtualAdept, bringing down the Snow. Snow won't help Slurpuff, so that's an odd choice, but the Rocky Helmet will deal a little damage to Hisui and Arcanine. Tinkaton gonna come back in. Draining Kiss very resisted by the Tinkaton. Rotom Frost going to come in. Thunder Wave misses. Thunderbolt takes the Tinkaton down to almost half, similar with the Gigaton Hammer into Rotom. Rotom gonna try to set up a little faster than it did in the first match, but Hisui and Arcanine says no time for that, drops it with a Head Smash. Little swapping here, Doxbun hitting Tinkaton with a Stomping Tantrum. It's a ground move, so that's going to be super effective. Into Skeledirge as well, but Skeledirge very bulky. Deciding to swap out of Doxbun, Alchemy takes the Earth Power pretty well. Now swapping back to Doxbun, reads the Torch Song. Well-Baked Body, not only immune to fire, gives it 2 times defense. So Skeledirge having to swap over to Earth Power as Stomping Tantrum whittles away at its health much faster. A critical hit helps the Skeledirge and Flarolyn's team. Psychic Fangs won't be enough, and Skeledirge slacks off. Doxbun does not have that healing option, so it has to swap. An Earth Power into Alchemy. Are we going to see another swap predicting a fire move? No. The Torch Song does go off this time, boosting Skeledirge. But because of the boost, that move, Alluring Voice, does confuse the Skeledirge. Doxbun does swap in on another Torch Song, getting it a defense boost. Confused Skeledirge might hit itself, but no, Earth Power lands, taking down the Doxbun. Cloyster in, whiffing a Rock Blast. Through the confusion, Torch Song once again gonna boost its special attack. Cloyster down to its Focus Sash, and Flarolyn does finally swap out, now into Iron Valiant, boosting its speed with that Quark Drive, taking Icicle Spear after Icicle Spear down to 1/4 of its health, but an Ice Punch, kind of a BM move there, taking down the Cloyster. Alchemy, Skeledirge, Alluring Voice not quite enough. Skeledirge is faster than this Alchemy and will slack off, healing itself back up. Alluring Voice takes it down to 35%, and a Torch Song going to reduce the Alchemy and boost the special attack of the Skeledirge again, but because of that boost, the Alluring Voice confuses once again. Slack off, healing the Skeledirge. Alluring Voice this time just unboosted. A Torch Song continues to boost the Skeledirge. I'm saying the word boost quite a bit here. Finally losing one of those boosts is the Mystical Fire into the Skeledirge, and it hits itself in confusion for the first time, going down to 3% after the most recent Alluring Voice. Snaps out of the confusion a Torch Song. Alchemy goes down, Skeledirge at twice its normal special attack as Vanillux comes in, sets up the Snow, and Flarolyn swaps to Hisui and Arcanine. Loses some special defense, but eats its Citrus Berry, bringing it back to around 3/4 health. Slurpuff swapped in for VirtualAdept as Hisui and Arcanine takes another Flare Blitz and an Extreme Speed into Slurpuff, taking it down, taking some damage from the Rocky Helm. Vanillux goes Bug-type, removing the benefit from the Snow of it being an Ice-type, and Arcanine Hisui inversion takes down the final member of VirtualAdept's team as Flarolyn goes 6-0, not losing a single Pokemon. Congratulations to Flarolyn. In our final match of the day, we will see Grif versus Dutch. Grif had a pretty dominant victory in a 6-1 outing over Vercingetorix's fighting team, and Dutch was one of the 6-0s in the first round who didn't lose a single Pokemon, so these two both had a very strong initial outing. Dragon Water versus Fighting Flying, we don't have any particularly super effective or not very effective matchups based on the typings. It's interesting to see what these teams will do with that neutral relationship to one another. Corviknight could be important here, with some flying being able to get away from the earthquake shenanigans of the likes of Garchomp. There are some other interesting potentials here with the bulky Melodic and the very aggressive Hawlucha and Iron Valiant. We shall see what Pokemon is the superstar in this match right now. Alright, Melodic going to start off into Corviknight, so the two tanks of the teams. A Scald, but no burn thus far. Body Press not going to do a whole heck of a lot. Another Scald, this time does burn the Corviknight, which is going to make the Body Press even less effective as Melodic continues to heal from leftovers, and the burn whittles away at Corviknight. A Brave Bird doesn't do very much either. A little recoil to Corviknight plus the burn puts it down to 8%, and the Ice Beam finally going to finish off the Corviknight. Melodic looking strong once again. Pangoro comes in, and a knockoff is going to remove those leftovers as Scald comes out. No burn though, so that tanky Melodic has been punched out by Pangoro. Aura Sphere will destroy the Pangoro, and Iron Valiant comes in. We'll see if the Fairy type, Moonblast, oh, down to 2%! Latios does manage to survive and land a critical hit. Luster Purge. Crobat comes in, probably faster, so wisely swapping out is Grif into the Garchomp. Rough Skin going to deal a little bit of damage to that Crobat. Scale Shot going to hit several times. Ooh, one of them crits, going to drop the Crobat down. That might not have killed without that crit, so Grif with 2 significant crits so far. Hawlucha comes in, Dragonite comes in, Sirfetch'd comes in, a Dragon Dance. Grif is trying to set up here. Knockoff removes the Yachi Berry. Don't think that was going to be particularly relevant here. And Outrage, Hawlucha, the final Pokemon. Oh, but it terrestrializes Fairy, immune to the Outrage. Dragonite confuses itself in a close combat, going to reduce Hawlucha's stats. But no, the Whiter brings them back and also will enable the Acrobatics, which is a move that is more effective without an item, and the Unburden ability of Hawlucha, which means it's super fast when it uses an item. Gyarados gets a Waterfall in, bringing Hawlucha to half, but Hawlucha brings it down. Hawlucha, trying to run the gauntlet here against Grif's team, takes a third Pokemon down on its own. Grif down to only 2 Pokemon, but Greninja has Water Shuriken, which is going to be a priority move, outspeeding the very quick Hawlucha, and in a Nail Biter, Grif barely outlasts Dutch, partially thanks to some crits and partially thanks to some good team planning with that priority move on Greninja. In this episode, we have seen victories for Artemis, for Flarolyn, and for Grif. Congratulations once more to the victors, and we will see you in the next video for round 2 of Swiss action in the Friendly. Be back soon.